Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Good morning, Algo artisans. We're going to take a look today at probably silver, NASDAQ, maybe Bitcoin if we have the time, although Bitcoin's pretty uneventful these days. And if you are in the audience, just ask a question. You're welcome to leave a request in the comments. I'll take a look at whatever chart you want. If it is a brand new, stupid crypto meme coin, like, something that's been around for a week, I'll probably very respectfully decline, maybe even disrespectfully decline. That said, please take a look in the description. There is a free algo. It's a very quick video. It's a 15-minute or so video where I teach you how to build an algo. I actually show you, I build one right before your very eyes, and I show you tools that traders use to connect that algo to their computer so they can trade while they're not even at the computer. They just have the computer doing the work. Of course, you do have to optimize that algo before you use it. We show you how to optimize it at algofactory.tech. Come check us out. Learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. Okay, so this is a pretty far back look at silver, going back to the big move up in 2025. So really 2025 was almost entirely up. Silver broke out in 2024 February. It was sitting at 21, and then it kind of slowly ground up for the year. It made its way up to 34, which really isn't that slow. That's almost a double. And then in 2025, it was down to 28, and it made its way all the way up to 124. Massive move. I think that's like a times 5, maybe times 4. Very, very big move for silver. And it's retracing. And right now, it's seeing a healthy bounce. And we have seen bounces like this before, although we could see a bit more of a bounce this time. Now, my original look on silver, you can see this dotted line right here. I will undotted it. I will make it more visible so you can see it. I did have it moving down, bouncing up at some point with a strong bounce, and then moving down. But it may be that we're seeing that strong bounce now. And it's even possible that it will not make its way down to this level. But usually big moves like this tend to come back down. It just may be that perhaps it bounces a bit higher than, we expected, and then it comes down. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Not a wild guess. I'm going to use some tools. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fixed range so I can take a look at the volume profile. Give me just a moment here. It could go as high as 76 before it heads down, which is, it could go higher, but if it were to have a nice bounce right now, we could see it actually grind its way up to 76. It might even flash up there, but I don't know that it would grind straight up, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the picture. I'll just put a block up here where a lot of volume is a little bit higher. So we know price may want to go there. Doesn't mean it's going to go there. It just may go there, right? It's right now it's a market that has a lot of bearishness, but it's at a time when it could have a pretty healthy bounce, right? So like, for example, we saw a bounce that could be comparable when price made its way. The big sort of blow off top took price from 124 back in February all the way down to 64 within like 2 weeks. And then it popped right back up to 96, tried to retake the highs and could not. That's a typical top formation. And after such a massive move, price does tend to want to come down. So then we had another bounce, right? And that was in March from 61, went all the way up to 89. So these moves, if we were to measure them, that first one back in February was a 50% move up. That's massive. The next one in March, late March, was a 50% move. That's a big move. So if price were to move up 50%, just as a very basic comparison, it would go up to about $83. Now, is it going to go that high? Hard to say, but our 75 to 77 range, that's right in that. That's right in that 50. That's actually probably at about 40% range. So that would make a lot of sense from just a sort of a congruency standpoint from how big these bounces can be. Now, I'm going to take a look at some metrics, and I'm also seeing some decent reason to see kind of a sustained bounce. So what we might see is something that lasts a little bit longer, takes a little bit longer. I still see on the very high time frames enough bearishness to be thinking that this bounce may not, it may not make it past this level. But it really could happen in a lot of different ways. So to try to predict what it's going to look like right now, it's a little tricky. But I could just put out a prediction here. Okay, just kind of a basic forecast. And I think it might look like this. Maybe a little more up. And then it might come back down to grab some liquidity and then spike up. And then we might see it head down. That's the most likely forecast I see right now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this as is. And this I did have. You can see here this the original forecast, the dotted line, the real faint one that I will now make not so faint. That was the original. I thought it would break down, but we're going to see a bounce right here. Apparently, we do have a double bottom formation. So that was the original forecast, and for the record, that was there, right? And then let me go ahead and make that dotted. We keep that on there just for honesty reasons. It's on the record now, so I could take it off. But we do have here this bounce that I kind of, I predicted up to this level. I saw here going back about 2 weeks in July that it was going to bounce right there. But now that it has bounced, it's bounced stronger than I thought, and it does look like it's going to sustain, like it's going to keep going up. So this is how we do things. We see, oh, okay, maybe this one happened, so now we think this will happen. And then we get more data, and it's like, okay, maybe this is going to continue up, right? So it right now looks like this. So I'll go ahead and just remove that so we can clean this up a little bit. And this is what it looks like may happen right now. It could happen more quickly. Silver was, it's a pretty high time frame move that we saw. I mean, it could simply, rocket up and then move down much more quickly. That could happen. I don't know that it will, but I will go back to the original and just kind of leave it there for now. That does put it over to October. So it's a little farther than I'd like. I think I'm putting it out too far. I am going to change this a little bit. I think that's more what I think you'll get, sort of a pullback, a grind, a pop up, and then a move down. I think that's more realistic. And we'll see, as time goes on. As time goes on, we might see some data that looks a little bit different than this. It's like, okay, this is, not happening. But for now, that's what this looks like. Something like that with silver. Okay, and gold will have a very similar pattern to silver. So, we'll leave this on with gold. And then where would it go? Let's use our fixed range. So we have a couple areas where it could go. We have this area here, and we have this area here. It could go to either of these, right? And I would say probably 4,700, but we'll see. We'll see. The bounces are a little bit, they're not the same as they were with silver. You had they kind of are. Let's see. It happened more quickly, but you had a 23% move up, and then we had a 20% move up. So gold may not be as pronounced as silver, and that's typical. Silver tends to be a bit more volatile, but 20% does put us up to this 4,700 sort of line. So we might see a similar look where it spikes up and then begins to head down, right? So we'll leave that there, and for silver, we'll leave that there. Good. All right, that's gold, that's silver. And we have a little bit more time here. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ before we go off to the private live lab. Let me go ahead and let me see, we're looking at the right chart here. Okay, that was the actual, okay, that's that one. Well, we got this one right. This was the, the take profit happened right here for the NASDAQ, and it spiked right back down. So beautiful trade. That's a nice win for the week. And this was put out Monday. The timeline was moved, but the exact, the trade itself is the exact same trade as was planned. So this is a win. So that's a nice one. Yeah, one last spike up and it's headed back down. Now, is it going to continue to head down? Because right now we're just looking at a 3-hour chart. So we're looking at the move back up. And again, a lot of this started with the news. Now, no one really knows exactly why these markets are going up, but I'm guessing that it has to do with the news that the US is going to start buying the Japanese yen, right? Because the Japanese yen needs to be held up in order for the Bank of Japan not to hike their interest rate to protect their people and their economy, right? So instead of having them hike their rates, the U.S. is going to go ahead and buy the yen. So far, we don't know how long it's going to last, but I think that was one big reason why this has gone up. And then yesterday, it did want to fall a lot harder, but then some news came out about Iran, and it held right here for a bit, and actually kind of ruined one of my trades. It's taken me a minute to get the money back from that one, but news comes out, can't really help it. That does happen. So you just make sure you don't stay outsized in your trades, right? Make sure your position sizing is proper, and yet it still broke down. It was a strong short signal, right? So where might it go? Well, there's a couple of spots where it might want to go, but the area that makes the most sense, just from a charting standpoint, is right about here, down to about 28.7. Now, it may not get there. There is reason for it to stop right here at 29,365, which is this prior little top on the way down, right? Price came up to here, continued down. So that being the case, you have this bounce right here, which it has bounced off that line. That's a spot where it may actually continue up. So we can remove these old predictions. Looks like the most prevalent one as of a couple of days ago was correct. It moved farther and faster than I thought based on news. And what will it do next? Let's take a look. Okay, we need to look at this one here. I expect some chop on this. It's a little bearish. It's high time frame choppy, and I think that what we're going to see is price not go up per se, right? So if I take a look at the chart here, I think realistically, you'll see price settle maybe back into this range, like right here, or maybe a little bit lower. Price might settle into a range and just go sideways. So it's right at a support right now. It's kind of hard to say what it's going to do, honestly, at the moment, because everything looks so choppy, right? So you could see, let me just take one more look here. Yeah, it's getting tricky as far as prediction is concerned. I think it's a bit bearish near term. So this move up is probably going to get, it's already sold off a bit. So it may either, most likely, I think we'll head down and then bounce here and just kind of go sideways. It could bounce here, but I don't think so. You could see that happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think most likely, and I'll dotted line this one just because I don't think that's the case. I think you'll see this. Now, it could, play around and bounce, but ultimately, I think you'll see it head down and range. So it's either going to head down just like I drew it, or it might kind of pull one of these and then go into this, right? Like this. So there you have it. All right, thanks for watching. That's what I think will happen with NASDAQ in the next few days. And we're going to go to the private live lab, so go ahead, get the free algo out of the description. Remember, you got to optimize that algo before you use it, but I do show you the tools that traders use to connect the algo to their brokerage, so they can actually trade when they're not even at the computer. It's not plug and play, though. If you want to learn how to optimize that, come on over to algofactory.tech and learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. We will see you tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Today's Thursday. So we'll be back next week Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. EST. And keep an eye out Monday for the weekly report. If you want that weekly report, go get the algo, and that'll put you on the mailing list for the weekly update. Thanks for watching.